Let's talk about a single event, a moment in time that would completely change the course of a nation. We're diving into the 1972 Ghana coup, a day that really stands as one of the biggest turning points in the country's modern history.
So, the year is 1972. For Ghana, this wasn't just another year. It was a year that brought this incredibly dramatic and sudden shift in power. It really was the end of one chapter and the beginning of something totally different.
And you know what's wild? It all came down to just one day, January 13th. That's it. But the things that happened in those 24 hours would send ripples through the country for years and years. So let's get into it and break down exactly what went down.
Okay, so first up, a government falls. Our story really kicks off with the collapse of a democratically elected government. We're going to look at how Ghana's Second Republic was brought to such a sudden and really decisive end.
So here are the core facts: the who, what, and when. On that Thursday morning, the Ghanaian military, led by a colonel who wasn't super well known at the time, Ignatius Kutu Acheampong, made their move. They successfully overthrew the government of Prime Minister Dr. K.A. Busia and his Progress Party. Just like that.
So, the big question is, how did they actually pull it off? I mean, a successful coup isn't easy. It takes precision, it takes speed, and a whole lot of strategy. Let's take a look at the blueprint for this really swift and pretty effective military operation.
You know, when you look at the plan, it was just clinical. It was executed with total military precision. Moving troops under the cover of darkness gave them that critical element of surprise. Then, grabbing the National Broadcasting House, that was a genius move, because it meant they controlled the information. They controlled the entire story. Securing the international airport was also key. It cut the government off from any possible outside help. With all those pieces locked in, Colonel Acheampong could get on the radio and announce the takeover to a nation that, honestly, was mostly just waking up and had no idea what was happening.
Of course, when you do something this drastic, you need a powerful reason to tell the public, right? You need a justification. So what were the reasons Colonel Acheampong gave to the people of Ghana for overthrowing their elected leaders?
In his big radio broadcast, this was the heart of his message. He painted this picture of a country in a deep crisis. He accused the Busia government of failing its people with bad economic policies that had led to real, widespread hardship, and just this general feeling that the whole nation had lost its way.
So the public case for the coup was built on these three really powerful claims. But, and this is a big but, there's another piece of context here that is absolutely critical. At the exact moment this whole coup was going down, Prime Minister Busia was in the United Kingdom getting medical treatment. His absence created this power vacuum that, you have to imagine, made the military's takeover a whole lot easier to pull off.
With the coup a success, the entire political landscape of Ghana was redrawn, like almost instantly. Let's dig into the immediate aftermath and this new era of military rule that had just kicked off.
And the reality of it all was just so stark. There was no negotiation, no long transition. The democratic experiment of the Second Republic had just ended abruptly. It was over.
So, what replaced it? A new governing body was set up, the National Redemption Council, or the NRC. This was a military government, plain and simple. And its chairman, the new head of state, was, you guessed it, the leader of the coup, Colonel Acheampong.
And this wasn't just some brief interruption, a temporary fix, no way. The coup on January 13th ushered in seven consecutive years of military rule in Ghana. That's a period that would deeply, profoundly shape the nation's future.
So now, all these decades later, how do we remember this event? Well, the legacy of January 13th is really complex, and it's something that's still debated today in Ghana and well beyond. It really breaks down into two competing views. On one side, you have people who see the coup as a necessary response to the very real economic pain that Ghanaians were feeling. It was framed as a kind of rescue mission. But then, on the other side, it's seen as this tragic setback for democracy, an event that just wiped out a period of elected governance and set a pretty dangerous precedent for the military getting involved in politics. And this really brings us to the central, messy question of this whole story. How should history remember an event that holds two such contradictory truths at the same time? Was it a necessary evil, or was it a democratic tragedy? It's a question that historians still grapple with when they look back at that single day, January 13th, 1972.